Okay, so I've been over here thinking and doing lots of journaling, lots of stuff um, in my book, lots of different ideas about all sorts of effects with the difference between sunwise and widdershin, which is kind of like yin and yang a little bit. It's the mix of like the golden ratio and yin and yang. So like an illustration would be this: you're either bringing in or putting out. There is in between, but mainly those are like the two parts, the major forces and the way that I channel. So in like the very center, you have that represented right there, with the center being brown, the most neutral color. So that would be like symbolic of balance, which is like all colors, everything just melded like right in the center. And then you have your spiral, your white sunwise going clockwise, and your black widdershin going counterclockwise, and how you channel everything in the wheel, in the triangles within triconduction. So I've been thinking a lot about that, and I've been creating almost like a language, not a language with like words or phonetics, more like symbols for ideas within the magic, which is around here, the symbols on the sides, and the contrast of the wheel. So like the mind is opposite of instinct, and the body is opposite of your perception, and your environment is opposite of healing. And so focusing on that rotation where things are the strongest when you're doing magic, the widdershin versus the sunwise, what you are absorbing as you spin. I even gave some examples, like violet is the learning magic. So this one right here, because it's in between the mind and the environment and perception, so it's like one step above just looking. It's also studying, it's using your mind. So this is your learning magic, violet. So the widdershin, or the control, or the darkness, is going to be actually doing things, drawing things, writing things, practicing things, like putting it to use, right? And then your sunwise, where you're bringing in, going clockwise, and your light bringing in, might be something like reading, watching, thinking, just like not actively doing anything, but just studying the environment around you rather than actually doing something. Absorbing ideas, learning from other ideas instead of creation, and instead of doing your own magic, your own energy, you're observing other people's energy, and then this one you are creating your own energy and creating things around you. So I've been thinking a lot about that, bringing energy in versus putting energy out. And of course I have numerous books because I'm a crazy person, and I was going through the magic and I was reading stuff on Reddit, ironically, and it made me think of this, because someone said, isn't witchcraft like the devil? And I was like, yeah, it is, because the devils think for themselves and angels follow. So if you're very angelic, that's a good thing, right? Because you're a follower and you follow the multi-beings. All of these are beings. These are beings, and there are multi-beings who just want everyone to have the same energy and follow the same. They just, like, multi-beings they consume your true self. They consume your power to think for yourself and to do things for yourself and to practice spiritualism for yourself and magic for yourself and knowledge. Because that's all magic is. That's all energy is. Knowledge of survival. That's it. So by saying, no, you have to do it the way we do it, we're going to survive this way, you need to fall in line, that's a multi-being. So this is your own being. And something like a religion or like a cult or even like a government, like that is a multi-being. People who follow are angels. And people who think for themselves are the devil. At least in Christianity. Christianity put those names to it. Christianity is the one who labeled it that thinking and doing and practicing your own magic and doing whatever the fuck you want, that's the devil. The angels, they follow, they listen, they do as they're told. They bring it in. They're light, they're dark. They're light, they're dark. But when you look at like very basic principles, especially in like yin and yang and good and evil and all that kind of stuff, you know, there's like the two different colors, and you know what they never show is like a bunch of gray in between. You don't always have to be like putting out 100% and bringing in 100% and following and like doing everything light. You don't have to be one or the other. It'll flex and change depending on what you need to be balanced. And so people who only follow and let other people tell them what to do, and they're very religious and they don't think for themselves because they're just absorbing. That is you being in a cult. That's you being controlled. That's you. So if you're always striving for this, to follow, to listen to the words of other people, then you will be imbalanced. You can also be imbalanced the other way. You want to control everything, not just yourself, but everything around you, and that's what creates a multi-being. If you control more and more and you use that dark Widdershin energy put out and like constantly want to control other beings, not just your own being. If you want to control, that is growing your multi-being, and that's trying to like put darkness on other people. So the whole theory, yeah, it's like yin and yang, but a little bit more like thought through and combined with other ideas. So that's kind of like the super basics of it, of triconduction. And I'm always growing it. I'm always coming up with new ideas and new things, and I'll probably have bubbles for like each color and each flavor of, you know, each flavor of triconduction, each color of triconduction. I'll probably do that. It's always growing. I was going off of this just like a week ago. I had drawn this out and I had mapped everything out, and then I was like, this is too complicated. This is putting like too many different colors. So this is like 18 unique colors. And then I was also trying to develop like the Sunwise and Widdershin principle within it. So that was just getting too complicated. I was like, I need to focus and like really focus on bringing in and putting out the submissive and dominant. Really need to focus on that. That's when I came up with this. I simplified the colors, and then I just drew that in there. Then I have my major triangle and my minor triangle, and then I have the three mains on the major, and then I have the in-betweens, your perception, instinct, and healing, and then I have the more specific magic in between the major triangle and the minor triangle, so it's more specific. So you can channel all of them equally, depending on what you need. And that's where a little bit of like that symbolism came from over here. And then that's where that quote came from that I thought was just so interesting. It just really made me think, and I got really excited. The devils think for themselves and angels follow. I would just say, take away the word devil. Oops. Take away the word devil. Just say multi-beings. The multi-beings think for themselves. Scratch that. I don't know, Christianity, I don't like how they... You know what? No, I wouldn't say that at all. I would say the dark. Just the dark colors think for themselves. The Widdershin. I mean, it's all kind of the same. The Widdershin think for themselves. And the Sunwise follow. That's what, in my opinion, they're actually saying. It's control. It's control versus submission. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. And that's actually more of like an ancient Greek principle, is dominant and submissive. Gender didn't really exist. Well, I mean, it did. You had sex. You had male and female sex, and sometimes hermaphrodites. But for the most part, you're either dominating the other beings around you, or dominating your bubble, or you are submitting to the other beings around you, and you are allowing things to like come into you and influence you. Those principles were not created by me. These are ancient thoughts, just like with the golden ratio being the spiral of life, the center of life, and the idea of like light and dark, of yin and yang, technically, if you were to say it in Mandarin correctly, yin and yang, because yang is just the way that the West has learned it. Triconduction. At this point, it's not even tri anymore. The three, the mind, the body, and the environment. It's not even tri. T-R-I. It's not even tri. It's almost like sex conduction? No. You do still have the main three. And they will always, the major triangle will always trump the minor triangle. And the minor is contained within the three. The minor triangle is in the major triangle. So technically, you know what? I could even call this the Wheel of Triconduction. You know what? That's a good name. The Wheel of Triconduction. It's evolving all the time. I went off of triangles for so long. It's all the way back into the very beginning. Yeah. So from the very beginning of this book, it's been about that main triangle. It's been about... When did I start using it? Yeah, right after the codes. I started, yep, right there. Mind, body, and environment. So it still is triconduction. Conduction within the 3 points. It still is that on a more advanced scale. So I'll keep that name. But I might call it the Wheel of Triconduction. Who knows? This is just a record for myself. It's good for me to also talk, not only write. Sometimes I get I write a lot and I draw a lot. And I have multiple books and multiple ways of writing things down, like on the chalkboard and in different books, all sorts of different books. So sometimes it's good for me to just hear my thought process verbally. Completely unedited. Because that, after all, is my true self. The thoughts I have, the things that I take back and rearrange, that is my brain working. That is my true self speaking. So even if I make mistakes or I write something and then decide I don't like it, like, that's all part of the process. And that's all I'm going to say.